And it's important for us to be able to say that there's still a lot of incredible evangelization work that needs to be done. Hello, welcome back to the Stand Firm Project. My name is Father Jordan Dosch, Vocation Director for the Diocese of Bismarck. Once someone starts practicing the faith and they have really encountered Jesus, it's only natural to then want to share it, right? Jesus is always sending his disciples out. He's always trying to get them to spread the message, and that's something that all of us should do. But if you're like me and you're walking around and you're interacting with people, it's like chances are they know of Jesus. They know who Jesus is, right? So when you think of evangelizing, most of the time, even when we read the lives of the saints, it's like, well, if I want to evangelize, I got to go to Africa, or I got to go to somewhere of someone that doesn't even know who Jesus is. And then I need to convert them to get them practicing the faith. But it's important that evangelization can be much more simple, right? It's something that everyone can do. It's something that we're all called to do. And if you have developed a relationship with Jesus, it's something that you should want to share. I'll give you an example. When I was in seminary, one of my apostolates, so one of the things that I was asked to do was to give tours. And we would give a free tour of St. Peter's Basilica every day. And you didn't really know who was going to show up. You didn't know where they were going to be at in the faith, if they were Catholic, if they were Christian, if they were atheist, if they really know anything. And this only happened to me one time. But I was getting ready to give a tour, and I would just kind of ask the people where they're from or how they heard about this or what they want to know. And we're in St. Peter's Square, right? The most beautiful church in the whole world. You're in Rome, which there's a church on every corner. It's very Catholic saturated. And this person, I'm explaining what the church, and he just raised it, and he's like, who's this Jesus guy? And I was taken back. I was like, whoa. I'm like, okay, we got to start at ground zero with who this is and try to explain what this means. And it really challenged me in a way to who is Jesus for me? And how do I explain this to this person, right? But like I said, now back in the United States, we're in, I would say a culture that knows Christianity, not necessarily a Christian culture, but a culture that knows Christianity. And it's important for us to be able to say that there's still a lot of incredible evangelization work that needs to be done. Now, when you hear that, I'm not saying that you need to go stand on the street corners and start preaching to people, because that isn't necessarily what would attract them, right? So what is evangelization, and really how do I go about this? And this is just kind of a very basic introduction. Mother Teresa, when she visited the United States, so she's in Calcutta helping the poorest of the poor. And as she left, she just said that the United States is one of the poorest places that she's visited. And I think a lot of people were surprised by that because they were immediately thinking of physical wealth. And that isn't what she was talking. She's it's spiritually poor. It's spiritually poor. There's a lot of people who may know of Jesus, but they don't know how does this have an influence in my life, or what good would this do for me? So there is a lot of great work for us to be able to do in evangelization. A couple years ago, I saw this video. It was of Penn Jillette, who's a famous comedian who's an atheist. And he was recording a video after one of his shows. And after one of his shows, someone went up to him and they gave him a copy of the New Testament. And they knew that he was an atheist. And he was just really struck that this person felt so compelled to give him a copy of the New Testament, knowing that he was an atheist. And he was recording a video, just kind of giving his thoughts about this interaction. And he said, I don't respect people who do not want to evangelize. He said, if you believe in heaven and hell, and that people could be going to hell or not getting eternal life, and you think it's not worth to tell them about it because it could be awkward, he said, how much do you have to hate the person not to evangelize? How much do you have to hate someone to believe in everlasting life is possible and not tell them? Right? I mean, I heard that, and it was a huge challenge to me. If you believe that everlasting life is possible, if you believe that Jesus is real and your life is better for it, how much do you have to hate someone to not tell them about it, right? It's someone is standing in the middle of a busy street and cars are rushing by. It's like, I want to rush out and I want to save that person. I want to bring them back. But it first starts with my own personal conviction, right, of wanting to share this. So when it comes to evangelization, the first step is that you have to be personally convinced of Jesus wanting to have a relationship with you and that your life is better because of it, right? So when we have these desires for evangelization, right, step one is not book a trip to Africa. Step one is you taking time out of your day to pray, of receiving the sacraments, of going to Mass as often as you can, going to confession, taking time to pray, right? And it is through that you're able to develop something that you can give away, right? You can't give what you don't have. And once you are able to personally have this conviction and you see how your life is better, that everlasting life is possible, that you want to give it away. So what evangelization is bringing someone into that relationship that you already have, right? Another common saying that I have of what evangelization is that it's one starving person telling another starving person where food is, right? It's one starving person telling another starving person where food is, right? Imagine you're in the situation, you're on a desert island, right? And you're the one that's like going out to explore and you found food for your group. The first thing you would do is like, man, I found this, I've been satisfied by this, and now I want to bring other people into this. So what that looks like, simple evangelization, especially for our culture, is you having that relationship and then having a friend at work, right? And saying like, hey, how about you come over for dinner, right? And you welcome them into your house. And let's say you have Catholic imagery on the walls and someone may ask you about it, or you say a prayer before Mass or before you eat and someone may ask you about it, or what you're doing on the weekends, to not be afraid to say, I'm going to Mass. Or you're on a vacation with a lot of people in a situation where it may be difficult to go to Mass, but those people see that you're putting in the effort to want to go. And then you invite them to come along to it, right? The easiest form of evangelization is just inviting someone into what you're already doing, into that relationship that you already have, right? Of asking someone to pray, asking someone, how's your day going? What are you struggling with? To be that listening ear for someone. I was really struck by Scott Hahn, who is obviously a giant theologian, is very capable of explaining the faith. And I believe it was him that he had the personal mission to sponsor one person coming into the church every year. That he was going to sponsor one person to come into the church every year. And I was like blown away when I heard that, because I'm like, and it may sound weird coming from a priest, but I'm like, if that happens to me like once in my life, like if I'm the sponsor of like someone, they're like, I started a relationship with it and they, found Jesus through our relationship. And then I sponsored them in church. I'd be like, that's a huge success in my life, right? I brought someone into the church and that's incredible. And to hear that he's trying to do that every year, right? That's like a beautiful challenge. And one of the great things is like, he's not weird about it, right? He easily talks about Jesus, that whatever's going on in his day, if someone asks him why he's happy, it's like, it's because I know Jesus, and let me show you him, right? A good friend of mine, he would have like a rosary in his car, or he'd have like religious images, and I remember he was giving one of his friends a ride in his car, and it was just by him having a rosary in his car or religious images in his car that he didn't really think anything of, right? He didn't think that I'm having this guy in my car, I got to like set this up. It's just like who he was. It's just what he did because he already had that personal relationship. But it was through that he then gave his friend a ride, and his friend asked him about this, and it started a conversation in which he was able to tell this person about Jesus, right? He was able to show this person where food is. So when it comes to evangelization, I don't want to overcomplicate it. And I don't want it to be such a high standard that whenever we think about it, it's like, well, there's no way that I could do that, so I'm not even going to put in the effort. But it's something that should come natural from us, right? It should be something that should be easy for us, that I love Jesus so much that I want to tell other people about it. So in living the faith, it isn't just this private matter of something that I do in my closet and just kind of like leave it there. but I'm going to bring it into all aspects of my life. In my little cubicle that I'm working in, right? Even if I'm in a completely secular job, I'm going to have a crucifix there. My financial planner, I walked into his office and he had a crucifix on the wall. And right then, he obviously knew I was a priest, but I'm like, this is awesome. This is something that we can talk about. And he says that it was a topic of conversation for a lot of people that come in. Just something as simple as that. So I encourage you that when we think of evangelization, to not become intimidated by it, but it's a calling for all of us. If you read the scriptures, it's very clear that Jesus wants us to tell people about him. He wants us to tell people about him. So let us have that personal relationship so that when the opportunity does arise, we're not afraid and we're able to speak charitably and honestly about what we have experienced so that they can see that their life is better by having that relationship. I'd like to thank you for watching this episode of the Stand Firm Project. Please like, comment, and subscribe. God bless.